Hello fellow hunters, Greg here, Widowmaker Production. Today we're going to be making those slides I was telling you about in the last video. We're going to be using 1-inch PVC and 1-inch dowel rod. Both readily available at Home Depot, wherever. So that's basically the components. By the way, I did clean the garage, kinda. I can at least walk on the floor. So here's how we do it. Okay guys, the first step to this is with your 1-inch PVC. I'm trying to make this slide as small as possible, okay? So this is what I'm starting out with, at least. You can make this whatever size you want once you figure out how to do it, but for starters, we're just going to do a small one, because that's really what I need. So what I did is I measured in. This piece is going to be 8 inches long. So I'm going to measure 8 inches. From the end, you're going to be 2 inches in. From this end, you're going to be 2 inches in. And I'm drilling a hole. And I'm just drilling this hole with a 9/32 drill bit. I drew lines, okay, 2 straight lines. Hole, hole. This dimension should be 4 inches from here to here. Okay? And next what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this part out where I've got my lines at. And that will become the slide. Okay? So on to the next step. Okay, and you should end up with something that looks like that. It's 8 inches long. Come 2 inches in on each side. You cut a slit. Okay. Now, what I'm just using a side grinder to cut this out with. Okay, with just a thin metal cutting blade. I love these blades. You can cut just about anything you want with it. Metal, wood, steel. I already said that. Plastic, PVC. It does get, you do get the crap all over you, but quick, easy, fast. Doesn't have to be perfect. Just try and keep them as straight and as close as possible to get, your line. Mine aren't perfect. So that's it. And then moving on to the next. Okay, next step. What we're going to be doing is working on the actual slide part of this now. And what that is was a piece of 1-inch wood dowel. Okay. And what I did is I basically cut 1/4 to 3/8 of an inch off of one side. So now it's not round anymore. Okay? And the reason why is this flat spot is going to allow your screw heads to slide. What's going to end up happening is this is going to go into your tube here, if I can get it in there. Okay, like so. You see that gap? That's going to allow for your screws for when you mount this to whatever you're mounting it to. Okay, so alright, hey, when you're cutting this piece of wood now, this is a pretty dangerous thing to do, to be cutting a round piece on you need a table saw to do this, by the way. So make sure you use the proper little doodads they give you for pushing pieces of wood through and all that kind of stuff. Be careful, don't cut your damn fingers off. But what I did is I cut halfway through. I started out with like a 12-inch piece. I cut halfway through, turned the saw off, flipped it around, cut the other half. It doesn't have to be perfect, okay guys? Just, it's not perfect, okay, by any means. But that's how I did it. Half and half. Easy enough. Okay, next step is I take my dowel now that I've got it cut, and I cut it down to 3 inches. Okay? And then what I did is I drew a center line, and I am using this bracket for my mounting. Now what this was is it was a wheel caster. Got it from Home Depot. I bought a bunch of these a while ago. That's what I like to use for my mounting brackets. You grind off the wheel, the rivet that's on the wheel, and the wheel pops out, and you can drill it out to whatever size hole you need for your piston, or your swivel, or whatever you're attaching to. The reason why I like these is because there's about an inch of clearance in there, and you know, I use anything from 3/4 to 1/2 inch, whatever, on my scissors. So, you know, the ones you get from Fry Props are too small. You know, there's only 3/8 you know, spacing there. I needed more spacing, so this is what I come up with. It's cheap, quick, easy. Okay, so then what I did is I drilled 2 holes in the center of this. Okay, lined it up over the top, roughly centered it, and marked to you know, where the holes were going to be at. Okay, so that's the next step. All right, now we're going to take it over to the drill press, and we're going to drill. What I'm going to do is we're going to drill these 2 holes out. You're going to drill with a 1/4 inch drill bit all the way through first, and then after you get those 2 drilled, then you go back with I believe, don't quote me on this, I think I'm using a 7/16 drill bit. Yeah, 7/16 drill bit to countersink on both sides, this side and this side. I'm going to countersink the holes just deep enough for a 1/4-20 nut to fit into. Okay, I'll show you when I get that all done. On to the next step. Okay, now that you've got your holes drilled, I took 4 1/4-20 nuts. Okay, I countersinked my holes with a 7/16 drill bit, just deep enough to put the bolts in. You'll have to pound them in so they're nice and tight in there. Okay, you put 2 on that side, 2 on that side. Okay. Then you slide this in, the flat part being opposite of the slit in your tube. Okay, so the flat part down, slide it into your tube there, and then using 1/4-20 threaded rod that I cut down to 2 1/4 inches. And when you cut this, if you take your grinding wheel to the very end of it and just spin it on the end of the on the cutting blade at just a slight angle on the grinding wheel, and just round over that very end just a little bit, then your threads it'll go right on your threads. If you don't do that, it's really hard to thread. So once you get that, you just thread that down through both bolts. Okay. It's kind of hard to hit the bottom one. The bottom one you may have to get out a pair of pliers to get it to thread into. And I actually had to take a screwdriver and shove up inside there and pry up on the bottom bolt to keep it from pushing out while I threaded it on. But it was, you know, I was able to do that, and it worked. So, okay, I'll show you once I get that thread. Okay, here's what I mean by by shoving a screwdriver down inside there. Just shove it down long enough till you hit your bolt. Give it a twist so it sticks in there. And then what you can do is put 2 more nuts on the end and crank down on these so they're nice and tight. And then you can put your wrench on this to thread it down into the bottom one. You don't want to mess up the threads on the threaded rod, so by doing it this way, it'll protect the threads, so you're cranking down on the nut instead of the threads. Okay, so let me get this started. Okay, now that you got them threaded in there, you put 2 more bolts on, and you leave just a little bit of a gap above the PVC. This will be the base for your clevis, this thing. Okay, and the clevis It's kind of hard to do with one hand. Clevis go down on it like that. Put a lock washer in there and then another nut. Tighten it all down. And you've got a slide. And it doesn't torque up. It doesn't get wedged in there. It's smooth, nice and smooth. I think if I add some white litho grease in there, it'll make it even better. But even without the grease, it slides perfect. I mean, it slides just as good as the other slides that Pat's using, but I don't think I'm going to have the torque problems with it because it's completely smooth. It's riding on, the inside of that tube. There's a little bit of it's a little loose in there, but it's right where it needs to be. Just enough space for it to slide back and forth. The washers or the threaded rod keeps it. Is what keeps it in place from flopping back and forth, and I think this is really going to be something good for me. This was what I was trying to make for my distance of 16 inches is what I'm struggling with is 16 inches of space. Now this is just a prototype. I just built this to kind of show you guys. But with that other one that I already dismantled it, but here's my PVC. Here's my piston that's going to come up out of the middle. Not necessarily am I going to use PVC on my ground one, but for sure on this Leering prop one because everything else is PVC, and I just wanted to kind of stick with that medium. I like working with PVC. It's easy to work with, no welding, easy to cut, pretty forgiving stuff. But again, for the Leering prop, what I'll do is I'll cut me a slit here. Now this is 1.5 inch pipe that I'm using here. So I was able to find at Home Depot in the millwork section a piece of. This is actually 1 7/16 inches. This is railing for like your stairs. It's just pine. I don't know what I paid for it. I didn't even question it. Just got it because it works. So that's what I'm going to use for inside this. So I'll have it all in one continuous piece of pipe, with my slits here. Then this will all be glued together into the Leering prop. And I don't have any mounting issues now. So I'll show you how that goes as I get moving on that again. But I think that this slide is a pretty feasible thing. It's crude, don't get me wrong, but it works, and it was cheap. I bet you I got, between the two slides that I just made, I might have $5. If that. I don't even think I got that. What's a piece of, this was scrap laying around. Everything was scrap laying around, so really it didn't cost me anything. But if you had to go to the store and buy it, you might have $5, $6, $7, $10 max between the two. And the great thing about it is, guys, is you can make these slides however long you want. I just did this one up for a prototype to see if I could make it work for my ground breaker that I'm making. So whatever your scissor is, if your movement is 10 inches, you could make this slit 10 inches. It's not going to, as long as you leave, 1 inch or 2 on the ends to hold together, the middle together, I think you're fine. And then, if you wanted to make it separate, from your unit, say you wanted to take it and mount it on top here like this, what you could do is, that's why the slit on the bottom, that we left, was a space for screws or bolts or whatever. You could drill a bigger hole. Sorry guys, my camera work sucks. You could put a screw down through here, and drill yourself a hole on the other end and then screw it into whatever you wanted to. And that slit on the bottom will allow for the mounting. Now I won't have to do that in the Leering one because that won't have to any mounting. It's all one unit. But I don't know. You guys tell me if I'm crazy or if you think it's stupid or what. But I'm gonna go with it. I have to at this point. I don't have any other choice. To buy a slide, a proper slide, and I'm not talking about the type that Pat's using. Not any, no offense, Pat, but to buy a proper slide from like Granger or any place like that, I mean, you're talking $150 or better. I mean, it's just crazy amount of money that they want for these slides, and I just made it for $7. Let's just say $6-7. Really didn't cost me anything. So I don't know. That's my rant for today. I will see you guys on SOP. And if you guys don't know what SOP is, go check it out. Shadow of Palms vlog. We're doing Sunday night chat. I believe we start at 5 o'clock on Sunday nights Eastern time, 6 o'clock Central time. Then we got chat on Wednesday night. Now Wednesday night is tech chat, okay? It's not get on there and just bullshit about your day. It's actually all hunt related, pretty much. I mean, we try to keep it to that level. It's all, you know, working on pickaxe and scissor hinges and pneumatics, paper mache. We're even throwing in there every once in a while. You know, just as long as we're keeping it hunt related topics, okay? Not about your day. But Thursday night's about your day or whatever you want to talk about. Thursday night's pretty open. And I believe last Thursday night we had upwards of 18 people in chat at one time. And at least another 5 or 6 just watching. So lots of good stuff. So go check it out. Another channel, if you haven't looked into, is Dead Things. Pat up in Canada. He does some his scissor hinge stuff too. So you might be able to learn some stuff on scissor hinges from him also. Lots of good stuff. Check us out. Check them guys out. Any questions, post it in the comments. You know, I'm more than willing to help anybody that needs help. So, alright guys, happy hunting.